Hello there, esports fans. Welcome back to E-League Weekly Season 2. Here are the 4 CSGO teams competing in Group B. Now let's start talking about the teams. Duncan, you always talk about these guys, one of your personal favorites. You've known them for years. It is, of course, Virtus Pro.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a reason why this team have fans everywhere they go in the world, because there's one of the most exciting, one of the most kind of compelling storylines that we've had in CSGO, because for a start off, they've had the same lineup for 3 years or more now. And obviously, they were E-League season champions. I mean, a lot of people have them ranked #1 in the world at the moment. This is a team where they might not always be at peak form, but they can find their way back there somehow. And one of the reasons why has been Neo's really changed his game over the last sort of 6 months to find his niche. vivo actually much improved from where he was earlier in the year when he was kind of in a slump. And then the star player is still Snacks, one of the most versatile players in the world.
Let's talk about Echo Fox, Jason, because obviously this is a team that's kind of plateaued themselves, you know, since they got picked up by the Echo Fox organization.
Yeah, I mean, there was some promising things to start with. We saw them at the beginning of the most recent ESL Pro League season go 7-0, and then they dropped so many games and they ended up outside of the playoff race. So a little bit of a stumbling block there, but obviously the big excitement around that was Sean Gares, you know, this in-game leader who, when he left Cloud9, he built this team basically how he wanted it. He has all the pieces that he's chosen.
And the day started with Virtus Pro versus Echo Fox, and it was a very one-sided affair, wasn't it, gentlemen?
Yeah, I mean, this was brutal. This is the best team in the world going up against a team that is just clearly outmatched in every aspect. Strategically, individually, Virtus Pro is just dominant from start to finish. One of their star players, vivo, had like a hell of a game. He was just unstoppable. And I mean, Echo Fox just really had no answer for anything that Virtus Pro was doing.
This was a game where, sure, Echo Fox were comfortable on Nuke. It's a map that they have been playing, have been picking, but at the moment, you do not go against Virtus Pro on Nuke because they're incredible. Didn't even have to do it on the T side now. They just cleaned it up on CT side, and it looked far too easy, and the stats on the Echo Fox side, really underwhelming. They were never in this game.
Yeah, they were absolutely atrocious. In fact, the highest ADR, which is average damage per round, that was actually out there for the Echo Fox side was 60, which is just not good enough. On top of that, I mean, you look at the tactics. Sean Gares is known for being some kind of a tactician, and there was just nothing that he really brought to the table here that was any good.
Yeah, well, it was incredibly one-sided. 16 won the final score, and it's Virtus Pro that go on to the winners match. So let's talk about NIP.
Yeah, the Ninjas, and they've become a very, very solid team recently. I mean, towards the end of the year, a lot of these teams that have had rough starts have really started to step things up. But the big one, Michael coming in for Pit. The big thing about Michael as a player, the one thing he's added to this team, because, you know, the stats between them aren't so different in terms of their actual production, but he is that, like, playmaking style where he is someone who can create something from the hectic and craziest situations when they're all out of it. Michael is someone who you just feel like can make something crazy happen that opens the round back up for his team.
So we're going to talk about G2 here. Obviously, another veteran team, one of the originals of CSGO in many ways. Starting out with the star player there, Shox in the middle, all-around great player. Actually the in-game leader of this team as well, but obviously with quite a loose style that is kind of centered around his own skill set. We've got Smiths here. We've also got some veterans like RPK in there, a very stable player. Got Body, who's kind of a young guy who's trying to find his way still. And then you can't really forget Scream. Obviously the headshot machine is going with very fantastic aim.
Hello, esports fans. It's Richard Lewis here, and I'm going to be doing an interview with one of the players I think has had a huge impact on his team. It's Makalele, who has just rejoined Ninjas in Pajamas. So let's talk about history, a little bit of history. Obviously, you were in the team before. Everything was going well, and then they made a change and said, no more Makalele. So tell us from your perspective what happened way back then.
Actually, I have no idea what happened. I don't have too much to say about it. I just know that they cut me off, and I don't know why. As you mentioned, we did pretty well.
Yeah.
We won like a tournament, and we ended up like second in a lot of tournaments, and everything was like rolling for us. I can't actually say anything more about it because it was pretty weird.
Were you worried that you'd blown your big chance, that maybe you wouldn't get into another team?
Well, I was always like looking for opportunities after NIP, and I wanted to become the player that I always wanted to become. So after this 3 months, I took my step into the international Counter-Strike and tried to find some players there and continue my road.
When I heard you were going to fill in for Pith, who's obviously got an injury, I was like, that's pretty crazy given everything that happened in the past.
Right now, it feels good. I mean, I have a lot of fun. We travel to a lot of tournaments, and we managed to win one, and we will see what happens, though. I really wish for a spot, but I don't think they will let me join NIP, but I will try my best.
Do you feel your relationships are all better now? I mean, are you guys actually as friendly as it seems on the cameras?
But now they know that I have a lot more experience. I'm a more mature person, so it feels like they're accepting me more now, and that makes everything better within the team.
How far do you think you'll go in E-League overall? I'm guessing you're going to say you're going to win the whole thing.
It's hard to say. Everything can happen. Hopefully we will win this group and we'll see what happens after.
Second game of the day was G2 versus NIP on Overpass, and we thought this one was going to be a classic. Turns out it wasn't.
Yeah, NIP is playing at such a good level right now. They have a really good functioning within this team. All 5 players playing really well together. And now we're starting to see some cracks on this G2 squad that a lot of people were expecting to come, and they haven't really recovered from just a horrendous tournament performance just a couple months ago in New York. You could see here, I mean, Shox is opping. He's their star player, and it's normally Smith. They just have a lot of question marks surrounding how this team wants to operate, and nothing really seems to be clicking.
When G2 was really in their prime this year, I mean, they were having ease on the maps they're very good at, Dust 2, Cash, etc. Then they had this whole swathe of other maps, Cobble, Train they can play, and then they had Overpasses, this strange kind of pocket pick that when they went to, in rare occasions, they could even beat the best teams in the world. Now, G2 is not the same G2 of earlier in the year. They're not at that same level, even individually and as a team, and you can see how they've kind of lost it on Overpass.
Yeah, NIP were just dominant. G2 weren't at the races, and that means it's going to be NIP that joined Virtus Pro in the winners match. Our winners match threw up a classic. It was NIP taking on Virtus Pro, and it was Polish dominance pretty much from the start, wasn't it, guys?
Yeah, I mean, this match really showed. Snacks here is unbelievable in this round, and this was something that was going on throughout the half. He kept this Mag 7 frequently, and he did damage with it later on. You could see, again, here's in mid, 3 more kills, building up so much money. And, I mean, you could see Virtus Pro to a big lead. They never had to worry about the economy too much, partially because early on it was sustained by Snacks. So much bonus money with that shotgun. But overall, this is just the best team in the world really exerting its dominance. This defense, I mean, NIP could find nothing. They couldn't adjust in time to even put any number of rounds on the board. They got reset economically. Just Virtus Pro played a complete game in every facet.
And usually the whole thing about Virtus Pro is they're not just going to, as 5 men, outskill the opponent, you know. So that's why normally we don't think of them as this like dominating CT side team. It's more on the T side where they get the roll going, they're just aggressive, you know. They take liberties in that respect. I mean, the fact that, as Taz kind of mentioned, like even when he had 10K, Snacks still just kept buying the Swag 7, basically like, messing around almost. It kind of like takes some of the sting even off the comeback.
That means that Virtus Pro are through to the playoffs. NIP have to face either G2 or Echo Fox in a best of 3 to keep their hopes alive.
My name is Freakazoid, and I play for Echo Fox.
I started playing Counter-Strike, I think, when I was 13 in 8th grade. I played Counter-Strike Source. I remember when I was 13 playing, I used to play before school because I was so addicted. Like at 7 a.m., I'd wake up at like 6, start playing. I'd play in like FY Ice World, all the people will know. I've just played Counter-Strike ever since. I've always loved it, always been addicted.
He gets a second, gets a third. There we go, Freakazoid.
Since I left C9, it's been a little while, but Echo Fox just welcomed me with open arms, and it's been a different experience, and it's been great.
These rounds are coming down to such small margins, and this was always going to be a very competitive game, and that's exactly what we're seeing.
When we beat Liquid to qualify for E-League, that was probably one of the first times in a long time where I yelled in my house extremely loud.
How is Freakazoid still alive in this position?
My brother came downstairs, he goes, "You all right?" I'm like, man, guess we just beat Liquid and qualify E-League.
Echo Fox will take this best of 3 over Liquid.
We practiced a lot, and we came ready to play against them, and then Nuke, that was one of our maps that we kind of like hid and had it up our sleeve, and we were just all able to perform, and we just brought that energy.
Freakazoid not afraid to just wade through the danger.
We ended up winning, and it was great. I left Cloud9 just because there was some personal stuff going on in my life that I needed to really figure out and wanted to take a break kind of from the game. I was able to refocus and refine that fire and want to play again. Our team is starting to gel a little bit more and more. We're like all growing together naturally, and same with our coach, Kerry. He's kind of like the glue of our team. It's been great to be on a team with Sean again. I always loved the way he called. I always said he was a wizard. I think I've learned a lot more since I've been on the team now with him than I did before, because now I'm understanding the game more. So it's been awesome. I'm definitely excited for this tournament coming up. These teams are all tough. These are all top 5, top 6 teams in the world right here. Mentally, if we're ready for it and we're not intimidated by them and we play our game, we can actually surprise them. It's a group of death, but you know what? We got nothing to lose. We just got to bring it and believe in ourselves and believe we can do it and we can win. The future for me, just Counter-Strike, just grinding, and then maybe getting in the gym a little bit more since I've been slacking. But yeah, I just moved to Vegas, and I love it. This change of scenery for me, and just moving all of my life and trying to do bigger and better things.
So in the opening series of the day, Echo Fox had to work cut out for them. They had to take on G2 Esports, and it was a bit of a mauling.
Yeah, to be fair, they never really got to work this morning because they did just get annihilated. I mean, this was a dominant series from G2. They really showed how big the gap is between Echo Fox, and much like we saw just the other day against Virtus.pro, nothing that Echo Fox brought to this game was working. Not the tactics, not the individual players. There's not many good things to say from them out of this match.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Moses was a little bit more confident about this map. He thought, you know, maybe they get 4 rounds more. But in the end, I think Echo Fox must have tried to signify their love for him by giving him less than 3.
They're just heartbreakers, I think, is the big thing.
I mean, obviously, we know as well, Sean Guez said he was very embarrassed by this performance. It was incredibly just off the pace, wasn't it?
Yeah, this is going to leave a lot of question marks in the team because now it comes in. This team has been together for a good amount of time. The period of time where you'd say you know what you're going to get out of this team, and there's nothing coming so far.
So it was a very easy game for G2. They overcome them in straight 2 maps, which of course meant that G2 would later take on Ninjas in Pajamas. So G2 and NIP went head-to-head to see who would be joining the playoffs, and we thought this would be competitive, but in the end, NIP just seemed to have that extra level.
Yeah, it should have been a little bit more competitive in the score. Actually, it was a little bit more competitive than the scoreline would indicate because there were some big mistakes that, I mean, small mistakes that caused big consequences for G2. They lost a couple anti-ecos where NIP was able to come back and run with primarily pistols, rounds that you shouldn't be losing, especially not that many and a half. But really, I mean, this just highlights G2 today was a one-man army. It was all shocks, no support behind him. He didn't have any real teammates stepping it up.
Yeah, this train game was actually a very good game compared to the nuke one. I mean, it was very back and forth, a lot of key one-on-ones. Obviously, Freiburg had a great fake at one point in time. I think this is what was coming up here. And sadly, despite all that Shox did, went close to 30 kills, still had those key 1v1s that he lost as well.
So history repeats itself for G2 Esports. They weren't able to make it to the playoff stage. It is going to be NIP who overcome the Hoodoo, and they join Virtus.pro in the playoffs. That concluded the Group B competition of E-League. Virtus.pro and Ninjas in Pajamas have moved on to the playoffs this December. I'm Richard Lewis. Join us again next time on E-League Weekly when we look at Group C and D.